From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Sunday morning left for Washington, D.C. for a 3-day official visit where he is expected to press for a bilateral trade deal and discuss defense cooperation in a high-level meeting with the United States President Donald Trump. In his departure speech at Villamor Air Base in Pasay City, the president said his meeting with President Trump is essential to continuing and to advance the country's national interests and strengthening alliance. The visit comes as the Philippines seeks to ease the impact of a proposed 20% U.S. tariff on Philippine exports. The president said his team would negotiate with the U.S. to be able to alleviate the effects of a very severe tariff scheduled for the Philippines. President Marcos will push for greater economic engagement, particularly through trade and investment between the Philippines and the United States. The chief executive said members of the Philippine defense and economic teams were already in the U.S. preparing for discussions. In addition to meeting with Trump, President Marcos is expected to engage with American business leaders to promote investment opportunities and economic growth in the Philippines. President Marcos reaffirmed the country's commitment to the alliance with the U.S., calling it an instrument of peace and a catalyst of development in the Asia-Pacific region and around the world. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla, and Agrarian Reform Secretary Conrado Estrella III have been designated as caretakers during the President's U.S. trip. Let us listen to the departure statement of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Good morning, I leave. Good morning, and for today I leave for an official visit to Washington, D.C. upon the invitation of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. It is my first visit to Washington following the inauguration of President Trump earlier this year. I'm happy to note that this visit is the first by an ASEAN head of state to the United States under this administration. This visit builds on the active exchanges that we have had since the assumption of the new Trump administration. These include the various bilateral meetings between our Secretary of Foreign Affairs, the U.S. Secretary of State, the visit to Manila of the U.S. Secretary of Defense in March, and also of the Director of National Intelligence last month, as well as the visits of bipartisan U.S. congressional delegations. My visit to Washington, D.C., and most importantly, my meeting with President Trump, is essential to continuing to advance our national interests and strengthening our alliance. During this visit, we will reaffirm our commitment to fostering our long-standing alliances as an instrument of peace and a catalyst of development in the Asia-Pacific region and around the world. My top priority for this visit is to push for greater economic engagement, particularly through trade and investment between the Philippines and the United States. I intend to convey to President Trump and his cabinet officials that the Philippines is ready to negotiate a bilateral trade deal that will ensure strong, mutually beneficial, and future-oriented collaborations that only the United States and the Philippines will be able to take advantage of. As with my previous visits to different countries, I expect to meet with business leaders to explore business opportunities that will help to grow our economy even more. And as you will notice, in the attendance of the cabinet secretaries here today, our cabinet secretaries for defense and the economic team as well are not here simply because they are already there and have been there for a few days to prepare the groundwork for the work that we are doing whilst I am actually there. And so I expect our discussions to focus on security and defense, of course, but also on trade. And we will see how much progress we can make when it comes to the negotiations with the United States concerning the changes that we would like to institute so as to be able to alleviate the effects of a very severe tariff schedule on the Philippines.
Heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, after around 13 hours, the plane carrying Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. arrived at the Joint Base Andrews in the state of Maryland in the United States early Monday morning to officially start his 3-day visit to the country. Under U.S. President Donald Trump's administration, President Marcos is the first Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN leader that was invited to visit and have a meeting with the United States President. According to Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA Assistant Secretary Raquel Solano, the purpose of this visit is to further strengthen the Philippines-United States alliance to proactively engage the U.S. in all aspects of the relations and seize opportunities for greater security and economic cooperation. President Marcos will be briefed as to what activities are lined up for his first day in the U.S. The chief executive will then proceed to the Pentagon for a meeting with U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth as well as U.S. State Secretary Marco Rubio, where talks in the West Philippine Sea and support of the U.S. Armed Forces to the Philippine Coast Guard is expected to be tackled. According to Ambassador to the U.S. Jose Manuel Romualdez, in President Marcos's meeting with Trump, among the most important topics the two leaders will discuss is the 20% reciprocal tariff that was imposed on Philippine exports. Romualdez said what needs to be advanced is a trade agreement that will both benefit the Philippines and the United States.
What is going to be good for us is what we're going to negotiate on. And the other side, the United States, will also do what they can as far as what they're concerned. They feel it is also in their national interest. So in other words, para magkatugma yung relationship, kailangan tama lang for both sides.
That was Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., His Excellency Jose Manuel Romualdez.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Sunday warned of the growing social toll of online gambling, stressing that digital tools must be used to uplift, not destroy, Filipino families. In his latest video blog, the president acknowledged the benefits of digitalization in improving public services, but lamented that technology is also being exploited for scams, misinformation, and easy access to gambling. The chief executive's remarks come amid mounting calls from lawmakers and civil society groups for a total ban on online gambling operations. While President Marcos highlighted the value of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence or AI and digital platforms to streamline government services, he urged Filipinos to remain vigilant against digital misuse. The administration has been accelerating the rollout of public Wi-Fi, fiber internet infrastructure, and digital education platforms. But President Marcos emphasized that progress must go hand in hand with regulation and responsible use. Let us listen to the latest vlog of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Bagong Pilipino ay bukas ang isip sa mga makabagong teknolohiya. Kakambal ng bagong Pilipinas ang digitalisasyon. Ito ang patuloy nating isinusulong para naman makasabay tayo sa buong mundo. Mas mabilis, mas pinapadali ang proseso kapag digital ang sistema. Digitalisasyon sa mga serbisyo ng pamahalaan, digitalisasyon sa edukasyon, sa kalusugan, sa agrikultura, at marami pang iba. Unang-una, pinagtitibay natin ang National Fiber Backbone. Inilunsad na natin ang Phase 1, 2 at saka 3, benefiting approximately 17 million Filipinos. Pangalawa, internet connection para sa ating mga eskwelahan, para sa mga mag-aaral, para sa mga guro. Internet ang pangunahing kinakailangan para maging konektado ang ating mga kababayan na nasa gida na tinatawag. Yan po ay ang geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. Yung mga mahirap marating na mga kable o telepono o kuryente. Napupuntahan na sila para kabitan ng Starlink o yung satellite internet naman. Wala nang mga kable na kailangan. Pinaparami na rin natin ang mga lugar na may free public wifi. Sa mga public park, mga transport terminal, malapit na sa mga MRT stations at marami pang iba. At siyempre, ang government services ay pinapadali na natin at ginagawang digital sa pamamagitan ng eGov Super App. Alam nyo ba na globally recognized at umani ng sari-saring parangal ang ating eGov app? Parami na rin ang mga function nito. Kamakailang lamang ay inlunsad ng LTO at DICT ang digital na pagre-renew ng lisensya through eGov app. Wala nang pila, wala nang fixer, wala nang korupsyon. Naglunsad din tayo ng mga eGov Servicio Hub kung saan kasama ang mga LGU na partner natin ay may one-stop shop for government services. At para mas modern at walang pila, ito ay sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng eGov Super App. Isa sa mga development na ating nasasaksihan ngayon sa digital landscape ay ang tinatawag na AI or Artificial Intelligence. Napakarami ang kayang gawin nitong AI. Maraming gamit niyan. Yung simple lamang, informational. Magtatanong ka, saan ba ito? Ano ba yung gawain dyan sa lugar na yan? Kahit sa pagsulat ng speech, nakakatulong yan. Ito ang kaibahan ng AI sa dating mga computer program. Ang AI natututo. Mas lalo mong gagamitin, mas gagaling ang sagot sa'yo. Kaya gamitin nyo na gamitin para yung AI masanay sa inyo. Pagkatagal ng panahon, makikita nyo yung sagot ng AI sa mga tanong ninyo ay paganda ng paganda. Sa kabila naman ng magagandang development na ito, nakakalungkot na ginagamit din ito ng mga masasamang guru. Sa mga scam, sa mga fake news, sa pagpapalaganap ng maling impormasyon at marami sa atin ang nabibiktima dito. Ang isa pang pinadali ng digitalization ay ang pagsusugal. Maraming pamilya na nasisira dito, lalo na kung hindi responsable ang pagkakagamit. Ang teknolohiya ay nandito para padaliin ang ating buhay, para ilihis ang pamahalaan sa korupsyon, para maging mabilis ang proseso, para mapaganda ang edukasyon, ang healthcare at ang kalakalan. Higit sa lahat, para magtaguyod at magbuklod ng pamilyang Pilipino, hindi para sirain ito. Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipino.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin on Sunday said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. personally prepared for his upcoming State of the Nation Address or SONA. According to Bersamin, the President gives prime importance to the SONA as this is a report to the Filipino people. The Chief Executive, Bersamin, said is focused on these things, especially that this is what the president wants to connect with his citizens. Bersamin said President Marcos has already collected information needed for his fourth SONA. However, they are expecting the chief executive to add materials for his fourth report to the country.
He has already collected the material for his SONA. Although we are still hoping or expecting that the President will consider more material.
That was Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Sunday hailed boxing icon Manny Pacquiao for uniting and inspiring the nation following his comeback bout against World Boxing Council or WBC welterweight champion Mario Barrios, which ended in a majority draw in Las Vegas. In a statement posted on social media, the president said Pacquiao gave the Filipino people far greater than a win. It is pride and unity. The 46-year-old Pacquiao stood toe-to-toe with the younger and bigger Barrios in a 12-round battle. One judge gave Barrios a narrow 115 to 113 edge, while the two others scored it 114 all. President Marcos said at 46 and up against a younger and bigger opponent, Pacquiao reminded the world that the Filipino spirit never backs down. Pacquiao, boxing's only 8-division world champion and former senator, had not fought professionally since 2021. The match reignited national interest in the sport and drew global attention to his storied legacy.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, in her visit to the Bahay Kalinga Shelters 1 and 2 of the Migrant Workers Office or MWO Riyadh in Saudi Arabia last July 19th, First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos said that the Philippine government is ready to help overseas Filipino workers or OFWs anytime. The First Lady was accompanied by senior officials of the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW, Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA, and Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD. Around 154 women are currently under the care of Bahay Kalinga 1, while 70, comprising 42 adults and 28 children, are staying at Bahay Kalinga 2. Upon their return to the Philippines, and as directed by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. of ensuring the well-being of OFWs anywhere in the world, each OFW will receive financial assistance, luggages, hygiene kits, food, and other forms of help from the national government.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Migrant Workers or DMW has maintained close contact with the families of the affected Filipino crew members whose ship MV Eternity Sea was attacked by Houthi rebels in the Red Sea on July 7th. Following the directive of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. to provide support and assistance and to take care of the families, DMW officials immediately met with the families via video conference calls and conducted personal visits in their homes across the country over these last 2 weeks. DMW Secretary Hans Leo said the agency is continuing its account for the missing seafarers and shall sustain these personal assurances of whole of government support and assistance until they are reunited with their families. Families expressed heartfelt gratitude for the DMW's direct outreach and transparent communication. The DMW In coordination with the Philippine Embassy, the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA, ship owners, and licensed manning agencies continues to exhaust all efforts to account for the missing crew members and provide sustained support to their loved ones at home.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Philippine government on Sunday disputed China's latest advisory warning its students about safety risks in the country, calling the security alert inaccurate and mischaracterizing the actual situation on the ground. In a statement, the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, said the relevant advisory issued by the Chinese Ministry of Education mischaracterizes the situation in the Philippines. This is in response to Beijing's July 18 alert, citing the supposed deteriorating public security situation and an increasing number of criminal incidents targeting Chinese citizens. This is the second time this year that China has raised concerns over public safety in the Philippines. In April, the Chinese embassy in Manila released a similar statement warning of an unstable security environment. The DFA said Philippine law enforcement agencies are actively addressing crimes involving Chinese nationals, whether as victims or perpetrators, including incidents between foreign nationals themselves. The DFA said all instances of crimes, including those involving Chinese and other foreign nationals, as well as those perpetrated by foreign nationals against their own, are being addressed by relevant law enforcement authorities. The department also confirmed it has raised concerns with Beijing through formal diplomatic channels. It said the department has conveyed its concerns regarding the inaccuracies in the advisory issued by the Chinese Ministry of Education through diplomatic channels. It is hoped that the Chinese side will undertake the necessary corrections. Despite the issue, the DFA reaffirmed Manila's openness to continued engagement with Beijing.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is now live on audio streaming. Just download eVox PBS receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our post as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.